This is Pete Moore on Halo Talks NYC on location, Ursa 2023, with my audio extraordinaire, Noah Myers. We are here with Laura, the president and co-founder of Walla, and we're going to talk software. We're going to talk empowering studios and all the bricks and mortar and people that need to know that they have an enterprise solution behind them. Welcome to the show.
Thanks. Appreciate you having me.
So talk about how you started in the industry and then kind of morphed from being on the bricks and mortar side to saying, hey, I should be a software
Build software
technologist, and I'm not looking back no matter what decision I made, like I've done several. So go ahead. No, we're in a good place. We're at a good time. Let's keep it all positive, but tell us how you got here.
I started out teaching yoga on the side of my corporate sales career, and I was a college athlete. I played volleyball in college, and just fell in love with the boutique experience, but all the studios that I worked at kept closing, kept changing owners, and it was driving me crazy. And so I'd start helping them with sales processes and had to get to know the software they were on so I could give them support, and ultimately got to know MindBody, which is what all of them worked on at the time. And at one point I was recruited away to help open one of the first Yoga 6 locations. So I helped design sales processes, operations manuals, made that studio hyper profitable over a couple of years.
This was when it was independent before it became part of Exponential?
Exactly. Okay. So first, I think we were the second location.
Gotcha.
So got that rocking and realized that I loved doing that. Loved helping, take studios from not great to fantastic and leveraging the technology they had.
And what were some of the things that you saw as like obvious? I look at a company now, I've looked at thousands. You probably looked at thousands or hundreds of companies. You say look, there's a couple of like blocking and tackling things that you haven't done or you're not thinking about correctly. So what would be some of those keynotes?
Right. I think a lot of people, especially 10, 15 years ago when I started in this industry, did not have a sales process at all. They didn't know what it meant to follow a client journey. They didn't have the technology to see where people were in that journey. And they just relied on people coming back. And there was no encouragement. There was no helping them build a habit with your business.
So what's in your DNA that you realize that, okay, we're running a yoga practice, we've got a community, but that doesn't usurp the need for sales, marketing, telling the story, getting out there, being type A, and not like just waiting and hoping that the door opens. What happened to you?
Well, I mean, at the absolute core, I'm one of 6 kids.
Okay, so you got to get an audience, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like, I had to fight for attention.
Well, it's a great analogy, actually.
Yeah,
a child who needs an audience would be a great person to drive sales and marketing.
Absolutely.
Bam, we're done. See you later.
Yeah.
Awesome. There's your tip of the day.
Got the answer for you.
There's your tip of the day. Hire someone who has a lot of siblings.
Totally. I learned very quickly that attention didn't last long if I got it, so I had to figure out how to keep it.
Okay.
And then beyond that, I was in a very high-pressure sales career in recruiting, headhunting, and I was constantly being attacked by my competitors, and I knew that just because somebody stepped in my door of my yoga studio and maybe had a great class, that didn't mean that 10 other businesses were trying to vie for their attention. So,
part of the yoga industry has kind of figured out that they can charge what it's worth, and I think SoulCycle kind of being the bellwether of saying, hey, look, this is what it's worth and this is why. And if you're going to pay, I joke around, but if you're going to pay $34 for the Bronzino on the Upper East Side, you can pay $37 for a SoulCycle class.
Yeah.
It's probably appropriately priced, and the Bronzino is going to go down quicker than your enjoyment of the SoulCycle class, so why not? When you take a look at yoga being like so, I'm probably not going to use the right terms because I'm not in the space, but like so holistic.
Right.
And I want you to pursue my journey or your own journey at the same time. Like, I'm trying to run a for-profit business here,
sure.
And I have to be able to toggle between the two, or else I'm not going to be here for you.
That was, it was essentially my speech I would give month after month when I started. So after Yoga 6, I started doing management and software consulting for boutique fitness studios.
Okay.
And I just got on my soapbox and was like, guys, you got to ask for money. Stop giving away your classes. This is just... You're not going to be a business.
Do you know Promotion Vault, by the way? Do you do any work with them? They do gift cards and they do reward systems. So instead of giving away or discounting, you say like, hey, do a $10 or $20 Lululemon card, and then it doesn't come out of your revenue, and
Oh,
then people
sweet.
use it or they don't use it.
Yeah, I'll have to take a look
So
at
there's
that.
something that we should talk. We're an investor in that business. That wasn't a plug for that, but the point is, like, send people to do something, encourage them to do it,
Yeah.
but at least make it happen one way or the other.
Right. Right. And part of what I did with like that frustration and that eagerness to bring to just professionalize the industry a little bit was, at the time, everybody used MindBody. And so I walked up to Rick at the time, who was the CEO at one of their conferences, and said, "Hey, I really need your help. I need your business owners to talk to each other. They all have the same problems. They all have the same frustrations. You have the biggest captive audience. Can I build an online community for your people? And can you fund it?" And he
That's
said
what you
yes.
asked for?
Yeah. And
Okay.
he said yes. And so I built, with the co-founder of MindBody at the time, Blake, MindBody One, we built to about 8,000 of their clients and had a captive, engaged online community.
As part of their company.
Yep, as part of their company. But I was a contractor. I was external running it. And that's part of why it was successful, because they didn't come and bitch to me about things in the product not working. I wasn't tech support. They came to talk to each other about business best practices.
Got it, okay.
So I had such a deep insight into what was happening day to day in the industry. And I just finally realized that I wasn't going to get what I wanted out of them, out of MindBody. And my business partner at the time, I had been doing some advisory services for him as he launched his tech startup, which was Limber, that he had just sold to MindBody. So
Okay, yeah.
he became head
That
of...
was an appointment software, or what was
No,
it?
it was actually dynamic pricing. So
That's right. That's
Yep,
right. I remember
yep.
now. Okay.
So kind of, anyway, so...
Yeah. So it's interesting. So you basically, what I always reiterate on these podcasts to kind of like drop into people's knowledge bases to say, once you see what the frustration that you're solving, then you can build a solution for it.
Yep.
People come to us with ideas a lot, and they say, "I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that." I'm like, well, what frustration did you personally have, or did you personally experience that warrants you to start a company and devote your life to solving that problem? And if there isn't really a problem, but you just think it's a cool combination of things, like Reese's peanut butter cups, great combination, great idea, good idea. Turn that into a product, right? Let's mix those together.
Yeah.
Doing aerial yoga and HIIT workouts, probably not solving anyone's frustration.
Exactly.
Just do them on different days.
Yeah.
So talk about what Walla's become, obviously starting from the root cause of people's issues and kind of building from there, and also talk about what it was like and what it is like to be an entrepreneur on your own little island and trying to grab onto other boats to say, hey, you guys got the same thing going on here or what?
Yeah, let's not drown. Talk about the frustration moment. I will never forget this, and I think about it day to day. I was 7 months pregnant with my second kid and running my Yoga 6 location, and I couldn't get a report on my teacher performance. I was losing my mind. 2 teachers had asked for a raise. I didn't know how much money they were bringing me. It was mind-numbing.
Yeah.
And I just was crying, and I had my tears dropping on my giant pregnant belly, and I was like, how can this be the only solution? So I literally bring that into my day-to-day because I know so many people go through the same frustrations. And so, when Doug Hecht is my business partner, and I came together, we really needed each other. He had built tech companies and understood the operations and the tech chops needed to build a really quality product. And I had the industry knowledge and could help guide where the product needed the use cases, the understanding of the granular details, because let's face it, there are a lot of competitors in this industry, and MindBody still up into, has tens of thousands of studios. And it took a lot of work on those, deeper intricacies in the software before we could even go to market. There's no way to go to market in this industry without a really robust product.
Yeah.
People just want to switch.
Well, I ran a software company from 2000 to 2003, and there were a lot of feature requests, and what we learned the hard way, as people always hear me say, experience is what you get when you don't get what you want. You start talking about version 2, people are like, you know what, I'll just wait till version 2 comes out. What do I have to sign up for now? And so you're always working off of this wet painting in a gallery and be like, I'll come back when it dries, or when you fix it, or put a new frame on it. So it's you can't really ask for the sale when you're telling people 90
it's
days
coming.
out, and then 90 days turns into 120, and then my
Right.
programmers say, it's not ready yet, we have to do this, X, Y, Z, and then you're like, okay, I
Yeah.
actually didn't sell anything, I have zero revenue. So I hear what you're saying. From a standpoint of, understanding what MindBody did, and, they helped build this industry,
sure.
which is amazing. The fact that they're combining with ClassPass, hopefully that becomes kind of what it was supposed to be, like a Switzerland of,
Yeah.
supply and demand. But as an entrepreneur, your kind of jumping off point was like, hey, I saw all these frustrations. You've got like an A-type personality. You also probably, not a bad way, in a good way, because I think I'm a rescuer. And I'm
I don't take offense to that.
I'm like, hey, you got a problem? I'll help you solve it. Like,
Yeah.
that's what I'm on the planet for, right? Basically, like, you got a problem? All right, I'll make it better. So, obviously, MindBody, a lot of customers, a lot of capital,
Yep.
a lot of infrastructure. You saying, hey, I'm going to go do this, I'm going to compete with them. What gave you the confidence to do that, and why did you think you could pick, I wouldn't say pick off, but like have a number of people say like, hey, this might make my life better?
Yeah. I honestly think the big confidence booster for me was the combination of me and Doug. We had what I thought, when I looked at the competitors in the industry, I saw a lot of companies that were either underfunded, undercapitalized,
Right.
who had experience in the industry but didn't understand what it was actually going to take to build a competing product. Or I saw tech people who could raise some money but didn't actually understand the use cases of the industry. And Doug and I had both. We had the tech
What was his
experience.
background?
So Doug started out with a digital marketing agency here in San Diego called Digitaria. Sold that to J. Walter Thompson, WPP. And once he was done there, once he had his earnout, started Limber. And that's when we met. I was working as an advisor early on for him there.
Okay.
So he had that background, and I knew so thoroughly the use cases. I can speak to our customer. They relate to me. I've been them.
Right.
It's 70% women who are sick and tired of tech guys telling them what they're doing wrong
That's a
in their
great
businesses.
point.
And I'm not shy.
I saw
don't know.
something on I think it was a Netflix documentary about everything you see somebody designed and wanted you to think a certain way or had a vision of what that was going to be.
Mm-hmm.
And they basically said that the world has not been designed primarily by women.
Mm-hmm.
The world has not been designed by people of certain minorities or ethnicity. So you don't really know how they perceive, a user interface or how they perceive what the structure means. Is this a positive or negative? Like, is the color blue, I actually looked at something today, 42% of the people say the color blue is their favorite color.
Huh.
There should probably be a lot more blue
Blue in the world.
in people's logos, right? If
Good thing Walla's bright freaking blue.
Oh, it is?
Yeah.
All right, awesome. I didn't even know that. That's great. Well, I knew that, but I was colorblind. And I still am colorblind, even though afterwards. Point is that you designing technology and pushing that forward was probably something different.
Yeah. And it's what we get feedback on all the time. In fact,
Really?
we have a quote that I'll never forget. One of our clients said, she said, I feel like I've been working in this dark, dingy basement for years at my studio. And then I open Walla, and it's like I stepped in a floor-to-ceiling, windows, airy, white
That's
room.
an awesome that's an awesome testimonial
Yeah.
of what you wouldn't intuitively think would be like a visceral reaction
Right.
to open up like a user interface or
Yeah.
homepage or something.
She's like, I can breathe. I can take a deep breath
That's
when I
awesome.
open your
You
software.
should definitely have that on the website, like in big 72
Full
font,
letters,
Times New
you're right.
Roman or something. That's a great quote. So as you've gone forward, and maybe this kind of flips to the entrepreneurs out there, maybe
Yep.
some advice, if you could like tell your younger self as you were building the business, and I'm saying this because I made hit some of these pitfalls in the past where I want to say yes to everybody. At the same time, the software doesn't do that right now. The
Yeah.
software is not going to do that in any time in the near future. So
Right.
how do you kind of manage through that, and how, based on your knowledge, do you say that's a good point, and you kind of either have enough experience where you can like psychologically, I don't know if that's the right term, prioritize, like here's what the real feature set or roadmap should be, and let's kind of
Right.
move that around, like a DNA, see that like DNA
Totally.
thing?
Yeah, the
Right there, visual.
helix.
Yeah,
Is that
like
what
the
it's called?
parts of the helix are changing
Yeah, I mean, honestly, what I'd say to that is I'm not good at prioritizing the roadmap. So thank God we hired the
Interesting.
right person who is good at
That's
that,
great.
because she takes my I want everything now and forces me to prioritize it.
Yeah.
And I probably would have made it a mess if I tried to do it myself.
Okay.
Because I'm like you, I want to say yes to everybody all the time.
Right.
But also, we got uncomfortably niched early on and said, no, we are not going to try for spa salon. We're not going to try for dog walking schools or music schools or pottery studios. We want boutique fitness, period. And even more niche down than that, for our initial kind of MVP and V1, V2, we want yoga, bar, Pilates, because we know how to speak their language and that this product works exactly for them. So we've had no churn, like
It's
people love
amazing.
us. And it's
How many locations do you have?
so hovering around 200 right now.
Uh-huh.
We launched in January, February of last year.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's great. And are a lot of the relationships ones that you've cultivated over time? Is it a lot of word of mouth, just saying like, hey, the quote that you just gave us
Yeah.
about floor to ceiling windows, is that kind of how things are? I think people need to know, look, there's relationships and there's results and testimonials that sell software. There's marketing, there's trade shows,
Yeah.
like just to explain how that works.
Right. The first year was a lot of, we had very little inbound.
Right, sure.
It was
Why would
hustle.
you?
It was pure freaking hustle. And calling and emailing and me being everywhere I possibly could be in front of studios. And now, and we hired a few different salespeople. Last year was the year of proving that our product worked and we could actually communicate what it did well. This is the year of scaling the sales and marketing operation. And can we, we adopted a revenue operations model, so we understand the data behind everything. We've got a really clear picture of the unit economics and the CAC. So now we know, and we can scale.
And when you take a look at what's going on the data side, on KPIs,
Right.
how much are you saying, okay, I've got 200 studios that are all in this niche category?
Right.
Have you been asked, or are you providing, hey, here's like, not necessarily by name, but here's where you rank in revenue per square foot, square feet per member? Or is it, do you not want to do that? Or is that something that people might want in the future, but you don't want to people necessarily like gamifying their business?
Right. I don't know that we'd present
Never
it
used that
way.
term before, gamifying your business.
Gamify the business?
Yeah.
It's a good one.
Maybe. Let's just Walla. Let's just go Walla. Keep going.
I don't know that we'd present it that way, but we are giving benchmarks, right? So we know, for example, on an intro offer, our average studio has a 27% conversion rate from intro offer to membership.
Fine, good.
Most of them grow from when they start to where they are now.
Okay.
We're starting, now that we have studios that have been on for a year, now we're able to start looking at year-over-year growth and, we call pricing options plans. Plan growth, we know right now, we just ran the data last week, 10% growth month over month. So our studios had an incredible year last year.
Nice.
Yes, the answer is yes. We want to share a lot of that. How we're going to be sharing it is going to be more in an educational, here's how you can set goals, here's how you can motivate your teams, and, here's how what's required to be successful in this industry.
Gotcha. So as you build out your team and you know that you're managing these types of operations, are you looking for somebody with software experience? Do you look for people with yoga experience, Pilates? How do you kind of think about job descriptions? And I don't think people think enough about them, but what kind of person or what kind of skill set? So how do you think about it?
Because my background is in recruiting, headhunting, and sales there.
That's why I want to get your expertise. Well, most people don't have your background, so and most people make bad hires.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite parts of the job, and I would say part of the reason we've had very little turnover. Initially, my first group of salespeople, I wanted every single one of them to have owned or managed a studio so they could speak the language of our clients. That was what I wanted as our go-to-market. Our initial, we understand you, we empathize with you, we can speak your language.
Right.
You're going to want to talk to us when you pick up the phone.
Yeah.
And that was great. Now, for a scale perspective, I want people who've sold software. and those are going to be the first, contacts, because I need them to be able to hustle and make 100
Agreed.
calls a day.
Yeah. I hear you.
So it's a little bit of a both and, but I definitely prioritize people who understood the industry, because again, I'm selling to a lot of women who have been talked down to and told that they don't know what they're doing for the last decade of their lives. And I want other women, or other people who have been in their shoes, to be consulting with them and sharing why this is a great move for their business.
Gotcha. And then when somebody gets onboarded, what does that process look like? Are they usually, is it out of the 200, let's say as an example, are there 50 new, or is it mostly conversions?
Mostly conversions, although for whatever reason, December, January, we had a ton of brand new studios come on.
Good.
So that was exciting to see. Mostly conversions. We nailed the migration process, partly because I was a certified mind-body consultant and I taught people how to run reports in the software.
Perfect. Okay.
So
that helps.
the first 3 we did, it was definitely up all night, like line by line, migrating data, learning it, but we automated it.
That's what you got to do, right?
Yeah, I mean, that is one thing I can give with absolute confidence people ease around, is we know how to bring their data over cleanly. And it's really, their consumers don't have any kind of a disruption in service.
That's great to hear. Well, I'm excited that we met at the last event and we parlayed that into a podcast.
Love it.
We're going to get this up there. We'll have all the information. If you are a studio and you're looking for a fresh start, we've given you a little bit of a short snippet of why it might be time to think about who you're partnering with. So
yes.
Awesome. Well, keep doing what you're doing.
Thank you.
Make awesome hires so you can tell other people, I nailed that hire. And I thought about it beforehand, premeditated, and found the exact person. So
sweet.
Welcome to the Halo sector, and please use our term as widely and as useful as ubiquitous as possible. So
all right.
Awesome.
Thanks,
Good
Pete.
to see you.